a gentleman who won 2 NCAA titles at UCLA.
All by himself.
All by himself. He's the one who started that dynasty. Without him, there would have been no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Jamal Wicks, any of those guys.
The man who made John Wooden what he is?
Exactly. A 5-time NBA All-Star, one of the finest point guards in NBA history, and a Basketball Hall of Famer, Gail Goodrich. How you doing, Gail?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for the great introduction, but I didn't do it by myself. We were a team.
Who was on that team in the first couple when it was you and, Walt Hazzard?
Yeah, Walt Hazzard, myself were the guards, Keith Erickson, who played actually for the Bulls 1 or 2 years in Chicago, was one of our forwards. And then Fred Slaughter, and a guy by the name of Jack Hirsch, who was a terrific defensive player and very underrated. Our biggest man was 6'5", Fred Slaughter, and we relied a great deal on our quickness, full court press, get out and run, get high percentage shots, force teams to turn the ball over, and we had a great team, and of course we went 30-0 that year.
Yeah, all those Wooden teams were teams. They weren't one individual. Even when Lou Alcindor was there, it was a team.
Well, you're absolutely right. You have to have, it's a team sport. It's a 5-man game, and it always has been and always will be. It's great to have some individual stars. There's no question about that. And if you look at the NBA today and you look at the teams that are successful, you sort of say they have 3 stars, and that's true. But you do need the other players, the complementary players, to complement each other, and they play together as a team, both offensively and defense. And those are the teams that are successful. You can go back to the Boston Celtics era and Bill Russell, and he had a great supporting cast for a number of years, and that's in the Lakers' success. With Magic Johnson era, same thing. You had Magic and Kareem, but they had other players, Worthy and Scott and Nixon, and just to name a few. They all played a role.
What do you think about what's going on in the playoffs between the Bulls and the Heat? The Bulls have all this pressure on Derrick Rose, and basically, I don't think a point guard could do it all by himself. I think you need 2 other stars, like you said, and I think the Bulls need to do something off season to bring like a Dwight Howard in here if they have any chance of beating the Heat in the next few years.
Well, like I said, you got to have complementary players, and you need more than 1 star. And right now, you look at this series, and Miami has 3 stars. They have 3 guys in that fourth quarter, late in that fourth quarter, to go to, and the Bulls really just have Rose. And I think if you look at this series, Chicago is just really hit a roadblock there the last 3 to 5 minutes in the ball games. I like Chicago's team. I really do. I think Noah is terrific. I wish he'd learned to shoot the ball a little bit better, and that's one area he can really improve. But I love the rest of his game. I think Boozer has been a little bit of a disappointment. He's really a defensive liability out there, but he can score. But he's not a star. So he's a good player, but he's not a star. So Chicago does need some more players. But this is in the playoffs, and it comes right down to it. In that last 5-6 minutes, you got to have stars to go to, and when we were successful in Los Angeles, we had Wilt and Jerry and Elliott, and those are guys that can really step up in that clutch time, the last 6 minutes of that fourth quarter, and really produce. And that's really what you need. And right now, I think Chicago's just outmanned. I love the team. They're great defensively. Thibodeau has done a terrific job, but they're just a little bit undermanned right now.
Is it more physical or psychological? Is there something about that last 3 to 5 minutes that gets in a player's head?
Well, I just think that there are times when step up, and stars they step up. So, and that's what's happened. LeBron has really elevated his game as one of the 3 are going to step up, either Wade, Bosh, or LeBron, and they elevate their games that they're so competitive and they're so talented, and that's really is what happened. This last game, you saw LeBron step up both offensively And defensively, I mean, he did a great job on Rose, who is just outstanding. I mean, he's really the ultimate point guard, you might say. But LeBron, he stepped up, and at 6'8", I mean, he can guard.
Look at the Mavericks. I mean, they got like a senior citizen team of former NBA All-Stars, but they just knocked Oklahoma City right out of the playoffs in 5 games.
Well, experience does help. And I think you look at Dallas, and they have a lot of experience. And the experience, I think, or lack of experience, has really hurt the Thunder. I mean, Oklahoma City has got, some very talented young players. I mean, you're talking about 22, 23-year-olds, and they just, don't have the experience in the playoffs. And it's certainly a team of the future. I mean, Westbrook and Durant and Harden. I mean, those are 3 guys who can put the ball in the basket. And, you got to give Dallas credit. They are just, they persevere, and they just have really stepped up to get it. And Nowitzki is taking his game to another level. There's no question about that. He has been unstoppable. But we'll see in the next series how they go. But they've been terrific. There's no question about it. I don't think they're as good defensively as either team here, Chicago or Miami. But they're certainly offensively. They can put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, Oklahoma City had some late game meltdowns that were just incredible to watch. It just, you say, how can this happen to a professional team? But it does, and it did.
Well, it really did, and I think that's a little bit of a lack of experience. I mean, I think that Oklahoma City, they offensively, I don't like their offense and what they do, but they rely a great deal on their individual talent, and certainly Westbrook can get to the basket as well as anybody at the point guard position. But you got to have a little bit of balance, and Durant, sometimes settles for the 3. On the other hand, I mean, they're great players, but I just think that if they can play together for another year or 2 and get a little bit more experience and a little bit more poise, they do turn the ball over a lot. If you turn the ball over, that really hurts you.
What do you think about the Lakers bringing Mike Brown in as their next coach?
Well, Mike Brown has got a great record. He's been a great defensive coach. First of all, he learned from Popovich, one of the best in San Antonio. I mean, Popovich is a terrific coach, so he learned from him. Then he goes to Cleveland, and he has LeBron, and he is a very good defensive coach. Offensively, it's interesting because he has really a different philosophy, I think, than what the Lakers have had in the past. The question will remain is, will he be able to coach a team where it allows a little bit more freedom, allows them to get up and down the court, and allows them to play a little free-form basketball? Los Angeles is an entertainment town. They want to see entertainment. They want showtime. And so it'll be interesting to see if Mike Brown can direct that type of a team at the same time be real strong defensively. Can he do it? I think he can, but we'll have to wait and see. The other thing is that he's got to get the existing players, and particularly Kobe, to buy into his program. Because these are players that have been around a while, they're experienced, and you got to have your stars buy into your program. If they buy into your program, then you've got a good opportunity or a good chance of really being a success. If they don't, you're in real trouble, and you'll be out of there quickly.
Now the Lakers need some roster turnover too, don't they? They're getting a little old.
No, I don't know if they're getting that old. I mean, you got Bynum, you got Kobe,
Kobe's got a lot of miles on him.
Yeah, but he's still terrific. You look at it, he's certainly one of the top 3 players in the league. I mean, you have LeBron and Kobe and obviously Derrick Rose, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, and Durant, okay, and Howard. I guess I've named him. So he's certainly one of the top 5 players. So you can say he's up there in age. I don't think he's that old, and he's such a competitor and a great player. I wouldn't say that he is done by any means. Is he the same player he was 3 years ago? Yeah, probably not. But and you got Gasol, and I don't know what happened to Gasol in the playoffs. I mean, he just didn't show up. but he is a terrific player. He was second-team All-Pro this year, and really one of the, I think, underrated centers. Although they list him as a forward, he does play the center position a lot, and he's one of the better ones in the league. And then you got Bynum, who's a young talent who's improving, I think, if he can just stay healthy. So I don't know that they got that much age. Now, you got Fisher, of course, who is 37 years old, and they do need someone at the guard position, a young player to step in there.
Elliott.
So they will make some I think roster changes. Of course, we'll have to wait to see how everything goes with the collective bargaining agreement out there this summer and what happens with that.
Elliott's thinking of Bobby Wainzer, I think.
Bobby Wainzer? I'm thinking Gail Goodrich comes back with that left-handed jump shot.
I've lost a little bit of weight here recently, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I can be a designated shooter from the baseline there for that three-point shot. But I'm just kidding. But they will make some roster changes, I think, and of course, so we'll have to wait and see. But I was really shocked, as I think a lot of people, that their performance in the playoffs against Dallas. I was really shocked, and I don't think anybody really projected or thought that would happen.
I'll tell you what, though, you were the key to Wilt Chamberlain winning his first championship, because we've interviewed about 15 Basketball Hall of Famers, and all of them said till Wilt became a team player with the Lakers, he was never going to win a championship. He had all the talent in the world, but he realized that in order to win the championship, he had to be a team player, and you made that happen.
Well, listen, I think that the 1972 team that won 33 straight, we were a terrific team. There's no question about it. And you look back, and I don't think any of us really thought that we were as great as we were. We did have a lot of confidence, and no one really realized what we were really accomplishing, I think, until it was all over. And Wilt certainly a huge part of that. He probably more than anybody else, I think, sacrificed his scoring ability and his talents to be part of our team. But I do have to correct you, because in 1966 he played on the 76er team in Philadelphia that I think won 68 games, and I think that was one of the great teams of all time when he played there, and he was a passer as well as a scorer on that team. So he did win a championship before 1972, but our 72 team, no question, was a great team. We had a lot of balance. We scored we averaged 121 points a game that year. So we could get up and down the court. Of course, Bill Sharman was the coach then, and he instilled that Boston philosophy of running, and Wilt was just terrific, and Jerry as well. I mean, Jerry. Actually, I think Jerry should have been the MVP that year. Jerry, averaged 25 points a game, as I did, but Jerry also led the league in assists that year. Now Kareem had a great year, and they gave the award to Kareem, but I think it could have very easily gone to Jerry. And I look back and I say, well, it's hard to believe that Jerry didn't get that award that year.
Who's the best player you ever played with, and the best player you ever played against?
Oh boy, I was very fortunate. I played with a lot of great players, and I can't really go back and say, one player, was better than another. I mean, I played with Jerry, I played with Elgin Baylor, I played with Wilt, I played with Kareem, and so it's hard to really pick one player that is better, particularly at different positions. I will say that playing against Oscar Robertson was really very, very difficult for me. I mean, he was a very big guard, really. I think the first real big guard with tremendous talent, and he could do anything he wanted on the court. And he's certainly one of the all-time great players that has ever played this game. I played against Russell, who I always said if I'm going to start a team, there's the one player that I would start with is Bill Russell. I mean, he really could control the game, and he dominated the game. And I played against him at the end of his career, but he was absolutely terrific. And I played against Rick Barry. I mean, I played against a lot of the great stars. Two players really one player that gave me more trouble than anybody else going on the defense end was Lenny Wilkins. Lenny Wilkins, and I had some good games against him. I had some very difficult games against him. But he's one player that he always made things difficult. You know, I was a player that tried to go without the basketball and lose players running off screens and trying to get the ball in a position where I then became a triple threat type player. But you know, you'd never lose Lenny. Lenny was always around, and he always fight through the screens, and he was always right there. And he was very, very quick. And so he was the one player that probably gave me as much trouble as anybody else on the defensive end.
What do you think about Dennis Rodman going in the Hall of Fame? Do you think he belongs there?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, you look at his full body of work. You know, I guess when you think about the Hall of Fame, one of the questions you have to, I think, ask yourself is, what kind of an impact did he make? You know, was he an impact type player? You know, here's a guy that defensively, I think he was 2 or 3 times the defensive player of the year. I'm not quite sure, but I think 2 or 3 times. And he won the rebounding award, top rebounder in the league, you know, 5 or 6 consecutive years. I mean, he couldn't really shoot the basketball that much, but his contribution on the defensive end and on the board was tremendous. So I think that, you know, he had a tremendous impact on the game. And yes, he was fortunate in many ways to play for Chicago and Detroit, but, you know, the guy's a winner. You know, how many championships was he on? You know, there are some guys that are just winners, and yes, you know, you get a little bit of lucky because you play with great, you know, complementary players, but here's a guy that led the league, you know, year after year in rebounding, and was also one of the top defensive player. So I think absolutely. I think it's really nice, and you know, I congratulate him, and I congratulate the committees for really recognizing his contribution, and of course his talent to be elected into the Hall of Fame.
If you drop that 1971-72 Lakers team that won 69 games, 33 in a row, into today's NBA, how do you think they'd do?
Well, we're a little bit old.
Well, we'll have you in your prime. You won't have to be in your 60s. We'll have you in your prime. How's that?
You know, there's a lot of, I get asked a lot of times about this kind of questions about how do you know, and it's really hard because the game has changed so much. But I think, you know, you looking back, you know, we had a great center in Wilt. We had, you know, West and I to score a lot of points, and McMillan was a very underrated, I guess you would say, small forward, but a great defensive player. You know, he averaged 17, 18 points a game that year. And then we had Happy Harrison at the other forward position, who led the league in rebounds for the forward position. And we had Bill Bridges coming off the bench, and we had you know, Flynn Robinson coming off the bench. So we really were solid. I mean, you know, we won that 33 in a row that year, and we just, you know, beat everybody along the way. You know, another thing about that streak is pretty interesting is that you know, we played 3 games in a row, back to back to back, which they don't play anymore. And we did that 7 or 8 times, and that's really difficult, especially when you travel, which we were traveling and then playing 3 nights in a row. That's difficult to do and to be successful. The game had really changed a lot. I guess what I'm trying to say, but I think we probably would have done pretty well. We had, like I said, a lot of offensive firepower. We had Wilt back there defensively to help rebound and to certainly alter a lot of shots as well as block shots. So I think we would have done very well, and I'm always asked about that. You start looking at the great teams of the NBA, and you know, I don't know that we'd be, you know, we would be the greatest, but we would be right up there. I mean, I think Chicago, the year they won 72, certainly you have to give them a lot of credit for that team. I mean, you know, Michael Jordan and Pippen and all the players. So, you know, maybe they're the best team of all time. I have a great admiration for that team, but we'd be right there, I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goodrich, for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you with your insight into today's NBA and those classic Laker teams.
Okay, listen, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best, Elliott. So you take care, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much.